Alright, the Lakers are in a bit of a sticky situation. I mean, I'm sure you've all heard the reports about LeBron and the Lakers at this point. The main one causing the controversy being from ESPN, go figure, coming from Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst, talking about the feud between them and that they're not seeing eye to eye at this point, and that this likely be the final season between them and that the Lakers want it to be too. Or then reports from Jovan Buha, saying that they're not in the best situation and definitely not in the best place right now. Other reports from many other reporters, even one from a Phoenix Suns reporter saying that the Lakers want him gone and they want to be done with him. So yeah, they're definitely not in the best place, I guess, and a whole bunch of it's being piled on here from media outlets, news outlets, and purely fan speculation at this point too. So with that in mind here, what's the best way to push that to a side and make everyone forget about it? Well, if you ask me, it would be the Lakers making a trade and addressing their final biggest need, that being a 3&D wing for their team. I mean, by simply looking at their current team, it's really not that hard to figure out. That's what they don't have right now. Yes, they're hoping for Jake LaRavia, a player they signed in free agency to eventually become that, and I'm definitely hoping for that too, but they definitely can't rely on it. And apart from him, they don't have even a semblance of a 3&D wing, not with Rui Hachimura, not with Austin Reeves, not with any other player on their team in entire rotation. I mean, maybe Adu Thero, their draft pick, can develop into one, but again, for right now in this upcoming season, they don't have a reliable option. So that's definitely their biggest need in my opinion, but it's not an easy thing to find. Whether you're talking about free agency, trade, the draft even, 3&D wings are not easy to come by and they're definitely not cheap, especially not reliable, proven options. So with that being said, can we find one in the trade market? Can we acquire one without giving up the entirety of our trade asset pool? Or what exactly can we hope to get? We'll talk about that and try to break it all down here. We'll go through 4 different trades and kind of by varying levels of trade asset requirement, talking about ones that would take very little trade assets, pretty bare minimum, then going step by step up to a trade that would definitely take a lot more for their team. So we'll talk about them and go through each one bit by bit. But beginning with a smaller trade and one that wouldn't require much of any trade assets from their team, this would be a trade with Portland. And according to a report from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, there is a chance it could happen as the relationship between Rob Pelinka and Joe Cronin, the Trailblazers general manager, is a pretty good one. So with that in mind here, targeting their probably most available 3&D wing, that being Matisse Thybulle in my opinion, I guess you can argue if he would be a true 3&D wing option. Definitely has the defense part down, but kind of up and down in the offense and 3-point shooting category. Though in the past 3 years combined now, he has shot 36.3%, so I'm definitely going to count it. Because when you factor in the defense, there's absolutely no doubt about it. When he's healthy and on the court, Matisse Thybulle is an elite and absolutely elite defender at that. He can defend 1 through 3, great help defender, great defensive playmaker, averaging nearly 3 steals per 36 minutes on his career, so yeah, it's safe to say that's pretty good and he definitely can wreak havoc out there on the court. So then pairing him with better playmaking like Luka Doncic, LeBron James, I don't know, maybe you've heard of them getting him open shots and getting him completely wide open from the corner and wing, I think that would do wonders for his shot making ability and his 3-point percentage too. And for the actual trade and what it would take to get him, I'm thinking probably something like Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber to make the money work. Then with him coming off an injury-riddled season, probably only a 2nd-round draft pick, maybe slightly more here, but they definitely couldn't ask for too much, especially with him being under a 1-year expiring contract. So that's kind of the bare minimum trade, I guess. If you're talking about trade assets and a fairly low trade value to directly address their biggest need, I think Matisse Thybulle will be their best bet. Coming off an injury-riddled year, is under an expiring contract, wouldn't take that much to get him and is a little bit of risk with him between the injuries from last season and then having to pay him to retain him, but I think it would be a good fit for them and would be worth it for them too. But then getting a little bit more ambitious here and targeting a player with a higher trade value, albeit only slightly, we could then head over to Toronto and ask about Ochai Agbaji. Is younger than Matisse Thybulle, 25 compared to being 28, not coming off an injury-riddled season, playing 64 games last season, in his 3 years so far has never played below 59 games, so does have the durability part in check, and then definitely has the 3&D part in check too. coming off a season of averaging roughly 10.5 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, shooting 40% from beyond the arc on 4 attempts per game, that coming in 27 minutes per game, so translating to 5.2 attempts per 36 minutes, shooting 50% from the field, took on the toughest defensive matchups to their team, and if you actually look around the entire NBA, he had some of the highest matchup difficulty of any wing defender in the entire league, so yeah, he definitely had some tough matchups, and he definitely did become pretty used to it too. So combining that with the 3-point percentage, combining that with his age again only being 25, then with him being under an expiring contract, I think he might be a possibility. Yes, Toronto is trying to compete and go in more of that direction, but their payroll is definitely pushing it with the long-term contracts of Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, and so on and so forth. They might not have room for an extension for Ochai Agbaji. So if they feel that way and feel like they can pay him and therefore would rather get trade assets in return for him before losing him, then he might be a good trade option for their team. And to get him, we'd probably have to trade something like Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber to make the money work, then having to throw in a future first round draft pick swap, their second round draft pick, their only tradable second round draft pick, probably something equivalent to that to make the money work and trade work. I mean, maybe they want to expand the trade and try to get a guy like Rui Hachimura here. I kind of doubt it again with their long-term payroll problems. Maybe they do that, maybe they'd ask for Dalton Connect, but again, in regard to getting Ochai Agbaji, probably like a future first round draft pick swap, a second round draft pick, and maybe a little bit more after that point. But if they would accept it and again are afraid of losing him for nothing, don't have the ability to pay him long term, then I definitely would try to make a trade for him. Fits their long term timeline, fits their 3&D or rather need for a 3&D option, is a very good up and coming player in my opinion, so he could be their 3&D wing for potentially 5 years down the road here, and I for one would definitely be interested in that. But then getting a little bit more ambitious after that trade, heading over to the Chicago Bulls and contacting them about a player they just traded for, that being Isaac Okoro, also another player I've mentioned from their team before, this being Jalen Smith, and a guy that I definitely would like to have from their team. Combining those two for a trade package including Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, a future first round draft pick swapped, maybe 2 of them, and then their final second round draft pick that's tradable. I think this would be a fun trade to make, addressing their need for a 3&D wing with Isaac Okoro, maybe not the best one, but combining him with Jalen Smith, upgrading their backup center spot, also getting a guy that can play at power forward in some matchups, so kind of have the option between him or Jackson Hayes, or maybe even both of them on the court together in certain matchups, or I guess Smith with DeAndre Ayton. That could give them more versatility in their bench unit and off the bench for their team. Giving them both Okoro and Jalen Smith would be a big depth upgrade for their team, upgrading from Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber, getting some more backcourt help, some more frontcourt help, a better 3-point shooter compared to Gabe Vincent with Isaac Okoro here, coming off 2 straight years of shooting at or above 37% from 3, last season shooting 37.1%, back in 23-24 shooting 39.1%, both on roughly 3 attempts per game, and is a very good corner 3-point shooter, being a career 38% corner 3-point shooter, roughly around 39% in 2 of the prior seasons now, so would be a good fit with Luka Doncic and LeBron, is very good at playing the catch and shoot role and playing off the ball, is a great athlete, only 24 years old and is still getting better over time. No, I guess maybe not the perfect 3&D option, isn't absolutely elite in that regard, but is both a pretty good 3-point shooter and an above average defender too, having a career defensive BPM rating of plus 0.5. So getting the combination of Isaac Okoro with Jalen Smith for a trade package of simply expiring contracts and then without a future first round draft pick, rather including future first round draft pick swaps and a second round draft pick, I think that would be worth it. But then last but not least for our final 3&D trade target, this of course being Andrew Wiggins, the most available one and the one we've heard the most about. You know, I really wanted to include Herb Jones, but after that new contract he got, I think he's officially off the trade block, if he was ever on it to begin with. I think that was more about reporter and fan speculation. Even though I really would like to get him, I think it's not a possibility. So after him, the kind of last man and last 3&D option standing and the best proven option left does happen to be Andrew Wiggins. Now the obvious problem with that is Pat Riley in the Miami Heat. the reported trade price they want for him, but if they would ever come to their senses and if they would ever drop that trade price down, then he would be their ideal option in my opinion. I mean, no matter what way you want to look at it and no matter how you want to argue it, they need a 3&D wing, and Andrew Wiggins is that, and a very proven option at that too. He is a great 3-point shooter, having multiple years of 38% plus and regularly is at that mark, is a good proven defender. Yes, some might argue that he's fallen off a little bit, but is only 30, in the prime of his NBA career, and is still very athletic and very capable of being a top tier defender if he commits to it and goes back to that 2022 role that he filled with Golden State. Then on top of that, even is a good third, fourth scoring option, regularly averages 15 plus points per game and coming off a year of 18 points per game, can do everything from that, be a primary defender for their team, on the ball, off the ball, very good 3-point shooter. So yes, he would be an ideal trade target for their team if they can get him for that right price, which in my opinion is one of, and let me repeat, one of, either Rui Hachimura or Dalton Knecht, but not both here in my opinion. Either offering a trade package of expiring contracts with Dalton Knecht, that being the package of Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Knecht, and maybe some minimal draft compensation after that point, or the trade package of Rui Hachimura with an expiring contract of Gabe Vincent, then looking at more of a future first round draft pick swap, but not Dalton Knecht or their first round draft pick unprotected. I mean, maybe you could argue a little bit more with both trade packages, but I'm not going to give up both Rui Hachimura and Dalton Knecht for Andrew Wiggins. I really like him, I think he'd be a great fit for their team, but between the contract that comes with him, isn't a terrible contract but also not a great contract, under contract for $28.2 million next season, then roughly $30 million in 2025-26, then on top of that is 30, so doesn't perfectly fit their timeline, is a pretty good immediate fit and would be a decent option for 2 or 3 more years, but isn't that ideal option to pair with Luka Doncic for 5+ years going forward. So I definitely like it, but I'm not going to cave to that price, though he would be my ideal trade target in regard to fit and what they're definitely looking for or should be looking for here in my opinion. Really all comes down to that price and Pat Riley eventually coming to his senses, hopefully. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers making a trade for a 3&D wing, and if they would go that route, maybe for a player I mentioned here today, would that quiet down the reports and all the drama between LeBron and the Lakers? Would it make them happy again and kind of come to a happy medium, or would it not fix their problem? Let me know your thoughts and what you think they should do in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night,